are new here, welcome. If you have been here before, thank you for coming back. So typically on Fridays, I put out a yoga video, and this is a yoga video, but it's different than our traditional flow or deep stretch type of yoga video. It's more of a sculpt video, total body, but we're going to be focusing on plank moves. We will be working in 45-second blocks of work, and we'll have 10 seconds to transition in between movements. If you have a yoga block or one of these little balls, go ahead and grab it and keep it somewhere close by. We're not going to use it for everything, but we will use, there are a couple of planks that I want us to use those in. And if you don't have one of those, you can use a pillow. If you like to play music during your workouts, now would be a great time to turn some music on. Maybe something a little bit more upbeat than a typical yoga playlist, but probably a little bit less intense than an all-out hit playlist. But I'll leave that up to you to decide what music motivates you. Go ahead and meet me at the back of your mat. We're going to start with walkouts, so which is a hinge to bring your hands down to the mat and then walking out into a plank. So hinging at the hips, walking the fingertips down the legs, walking yourself up to a plank, and then walking yourself back up. And you can trace your fingertips back up your shins, shoulders roll down and back, and then walk yourself out at your pace, holding that plank for a moment, and then lifting your hips up and back, tucking your tailbone under to come up to stand. And then looking forward as you walk out into that plank, and then looking back towards your toes as you come back up. So now we're going to make our way into a high plank, top of a push-up, and this would be a great place to grab that block or that ball, put it between your legs, and we're going to lift our hips up and back to a down dog and tap your right hand to your left foot, wave yourself forward back into a plank, and then opposite, left hand to right foot. Coming back into that plank, squeeze the block, and now notice how it forces your glutes to engage and your core just to engage a little bit more, having to hold that block there. Exhaling as you lift up and back, and inhaling as you come center. All right, now we're going to come into a plank and take that block or the ball out, and we're going to step our right foot to the outside of our right hand, peel open the right fingertips, bring them back, step the right foot back into a high plank, hold for 3, 2, 1, and we're just going to repeat on the right side. Step the right foot out, peel open into that twist, bring the hands back underneath the shoulder, and step the foot back into a high plank. So we're opening up our hip here, beginning to awaken our thoracic spine with the twist, and then stepping back. Okay, you can come down to your knees for just a minute, maybe shake out your wrists. And in 5 seconds, we're going to come back up into a plank, and we're going to do the same thing on the left side. And then step back into the plank, hold for 3, 2, 1, press the ground away, step the left foot up to the outside of the left hand, return the hand, return the foot to plank, pull your palms towards your toes, toes towards your palms. Keep that core engaged as you step the foot up, open into a twist, and then bring it back. Peel open, bring it back. Okay, safely come back down to your knees. We're gonna come into a forearm plank, and I'm gonna use my block again between my thighs. So arms like railroad tracks, like 11s, the palms and the forearms, pressing into the mat. Pull your belly button back towards your spine. Squeeze your butt. Press your heels towards the wall behind you. Now I want you to imagine you're pulling your elbows back towards your toes and your toes forward towards your elbow. Feel that deep core engagement that just that tiny tweak of pulling the elbows back and the toes forward creates. And the elbows and the toes aren't actually moving. It's just turning on those deep core muscles. Keep breathing. All right, come down to your knees. And we're gonna come into a forearm side plank. I'm gonna bring my left forearm down to the mat. The blade of my left foot is on the mat, and my right foot is stacked on top. If that's too much, you can bring the right foot down in front of the left. And I want you to think about creating this nice rainbow with your left side body. And the hips are stacked on top of each other. They're not peeling open towards the ceiling. If you're feeling extra spicy and you want to do a knee drive, you can bring knee to elbow, elbow to knee. Exhaling, and then inhaling to lengthen. Keep that rainbow in the side body by pressing into the pinky edge of the foot and the forearm. Okay, I'm gonna now move to my right forearm and this, my right pinky edge of my foot. So again, you can bring the left foot out in front if you need a little bit wider base, or keep the left foot stacked on top of the right. Fronts of the hips facing forward, and then if you'd like to come into the crunch, you're gonna crunch. So my oblique on the right, which is my side that's closest to the mat, is really working to create that rainbow shape and keep that side body from dumping down onto the mat. All right, now I'm gonna come into a reverse plank. And if that's too much for you, you can come into a reverse table. Grab your block between your legs. Bring your palms underneath your shoulders. Open up your chest. And then point your toes towards the front of the mat. Some of you might be able to work the bottoms of your feet onto the mat. Press the mat away with your hands, opening up the front of your chest, opening up the fronts of your shoulders. We're going to give our arms a break for a minute here after this. We're going to come into clamshells. So carefully lower down. I'm going to come onto my left forearm, and I am going to make this a little bit more advanced by lifting that left side body and then squeezing my right glute to lift my right knee. And it's a really small movement. You can bring your hand to your glute. So the planking here is this side body lift. But we're working into our buns just a tiny bit because, well, actually a lot of it. After this, we're gonna do a high plank move with a glute, a little glute activation. Make sure that that belly button is pulling back in and up and that your hips are facing forward. So we're gonna come into a high plank, top of a push-up, and we're gonna do leg lifts on the right. So step your feet into plank, squeeze both glutes, and then lift that right heel up in line with the glute. And that little tip of pulling your hands back and pulling that left toes, the left toes forward, still stands here. Press the mat away. Elbows can be slightly bent. Gaze forward. Okay, so that was the right side that we just worked. Now we're going to come down onto the right side for our clamshell. So my left knee is a little bit out in front of my right knee. That really helps to engage the glute and not the hip flexor for this movement. And again, pressing that right forearm down into the mat to create that bridge shape with the side body. Squeeze that left glute. Okay, so now we're going to come back into the high plank, and I'm going to do leg lifts with that left leg. So shoulders on your wrists, all 10 fingers spread nice and wide. Squeeze both of your buns, and then really engage the left to lift that left heel in line with the hip. So my toes aren't pointing back behind me, they're pointing down towards the mat, like as if they were tucked under. And then shoulders back away from the ears, look forward. Yes, everything is shaking. Yes, everything is quaking. It is supposed to be doing that right now. Okay, come down on your knees for a little shake out of the arms. We're going to come into a blast off. So what that is, high plank, and then press your heels back towards your hips, spring forward, stop your shoulders over your wrist. Inhaling as you lengthen that upper body, and exhaling as you squeeze your butt and come back up into plank. So quite a bit of quads here, definitely glutes, definitely shoulders, definitely upper back. And you could use your block here. This is another place where you can keep that block between your legs. Okay, now we're going to come back onto our forearms, and we're going to do a hollow hold. So rather than having our toes tucked under, the tops of our toes are going to be on the mat, and you're lifting your hips away from the mat, kind of around, like as if you were in a hollow hold on your back. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. If you ever need to come down to your knees, come down to your knees, and then come back up. Squeeze your legs, squeeze your butt, tailbone back towards the heels. Oh, this one's spicy, friends. The good news is this is our last work 45-second period. We're gonna have 2 stretches after this that are gonna feel so good. Keep pressing those palms and forearms into the mat. Oh, come down into Sphinx pose. So again, imagine pulling your elbows back, opening up your collarbones, and just gaze forward as you let your shoulders fall down and back away from your ears. So yes, we are still working our upper body a bit here, but it's a much more restful than that last pose was. Try to slow your breathing. Gaze forward. Just a few more seconds here. See if you can open your collarbones even more by snuggling those shoulders down and back into their sockets. Keep your belly button pulled back towards your spine. Last 3, 2, 1, and we're going to end in a child's pose. So bring those big toes to touch. Walk your fingertips forward. And just take a couple deep rounds of breath here. You should be pretty proud of yourself, feeling accomplished. That was not easy, that was definitely challenging. I would say we used most of the muscles in our bodies. And then go ahead and press into your left fingertips and thread your right arm underneath your left, coming to rest on the right temple. Stretching the shoulders, and then go ahead and switch it out. Bring the right fingertips back. Left shoulder comes to the mat, left temple comes to the mat. And if you'd like to hang out in this child's pose for just a bit longer, taking any variation that feels good to you, maybe prayer hands, maybe walking the hands right or left, I say go for it. Take as much time as you need, and if you'd like to slip into a little Shavasana, please take the time for yourself to slip into Shavasana. If you're looking for a more traditional yoga flow, I have linked an entire playlist in this card above and in the description below. I look forward to seeing you again very soon, friends. Until then, be good to yourself, be good to the ones you love, and look for the good in the world. It is out there, and if you can't find it, then be that good that you want to find. All right, guys, I'll see you again soon. Thanks for practicing with me.